Anointed Warriors. What's up, spiritual family? And welcome back to Mount Fitness MBS Ministry. I'm your host, Brother Mongoose. I'm a minister, a philosopher, and I provide services that are designed to nourish the mind, the body, and the spirit. These services consist of experiential philosophy for the mind, ISSA certified fitness training for the body, and clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices for the spirit and for the soul. I merge, balance, and synthesize all of these services and present them to you in an effort to help you operate at a premium in your mentality, your physicality, and in your spirituality. Now, I'm going to give a little bit more information about the ministry towards the end of this video. It's important that you know that some of the additional services that are provided by this ministry, all up under that mind, body, and spirit approach, all consisting of some aspects of philosophy, physical fitness, and mental strengthening, resilience, as well as your inner man, your spirit man and woman. So I'll talk about that a little bit down the line in this message. But I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want you guys to know also that this ministry is supported and funded by viewers like you. So if you're getting any kind of benefits out of this ministry, these messages, then please give back to the ministry by subscribing to the channel, hitting the thumbs up button and the share button. That way you pay this beneficial message forward if it's helpful to you. I know you're the kind of person that wants to help others as well. So when you hit that share button, that's exactly what you do. When you hit that thumbs up button, you help this ministry grow and you make this ministry available to help even more people. When you subscribe to the channel, you also help the YouTube algorithm. So do those things, and without further ado, I want to say thank you so very much for all of those things. And I'm going to get right off into today's topic. We're talking about the fact that you are under surveillance. If you really and truly carry this light, you're under 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365 a year surveillance. You're being monitored. You're being studied. They're using you as research. And so obviously you're being attacked. You're being pronged and pushed and all of these type of things. If you truly are amongst what we refer to as the 144,000. Now, depending on what he has established for you in addition or to go along with, if you will, the 144,000, say for example, you're not amongst the 144,000. But you are amongst the great multitude, those who follow this thing that we call God, and those that when you persevere to the end, you will get to this place that we call heaven. So it's all one family, but not everybody is amongst 144,000. We're all loved the same and all these different type of things. We get that. Nobody's pounding their chest about it. Because obviously the 144,000 get it the worst, which brings me full circle to the point that I'm making. If you're not amongst 144,000, but you do carry this light, depending on to what extent or what degree that he has established for you, that's going to determine the amount of surveillance you're under, the amount of pressure that's being applied to your life, the degrees, the extent in which the enemy is seeking to derail you, to demolish you, and seeking ultimately to destroy you. There's different stages, there's different phases, there's hierarchy, just like in the military, for example. Not everyone is a 5-star general. There's 4 stars, 3 stars. Of course, there's captains, majors, lieutenants, captains. If I mispronounced that, there's captains. There's there's sergeants, there's staff sergeants. There's all these different hierarchy. But either way, if you carry this light, you're under some form of surveillance. You're being monitored, and yes, you're being studied. And so obviously, if you are amongst the 144,000, the leaders, if you will, of this army of God, this thing that we call God, if you are amongst the 144,000, which is the leaders of the great multitude, those who carry the light, if you're one of the leaders, then you're under 24/7, 365, 7 days a week, monitoring. You're being studied like a guinea pig. These people are trying to figure out what makes you tick. Where do you get your strength and your renewal from? How you deal with situations and circumstances, your attitude. They have you under complete study. Don't think for a second that these people that we call government or that we call scientists, don't think for 1 second that they can tell you everything there is to know about every living organism on this planet. Whether it's an ant or an elephant, whether it's a hippopotamus or, in this case, a human being. Don't think they know all of this stuff about ants crawling on the ground and birds flying in the sky, but they don't study humans. They study humans even that much more further, and you do comprehend. They can tell you everything you need to know about a lion, about, again, an ant, an alligator, a fish. When is mating season? When is its mating season? Its life expectancies, the best kind of situations that it thrives in, its natural enemies, its weaponry, its defense skills, its all these, anything you need to know. And they know even that much more about the human species. And to extrapolate that out even further, they've always been even that much more fascinated, intrigued by those who carry the light. Those who do have supernatural powers, you have supernatural forces protecting you. And so they're trying to get into the mechanics of it all. We got to remember, guys, that this thing that we call God says that he will make his final return only after those, his chosen ones, those that are amongst 144,000 are sealed in their forehead. So that's the final piece to the puzzle, and the enemy knows this. So by prodding you, by testing you, by trying you, seeing how you adapt, what moves you, what causes you fear, anxiety, where do you get your strength and your renewal from? By figuring out all of these things, as they attempt to figure out all these things about you, it gives them some idea of where you are in terms of you being sealed, which again ties into when he's going to come back. And you just got to know this. You have to know this. If you don't know who you are, then you don't know who your enemies are either. And this message is specifically for some of you guys out there. I realize that on this planet, in the midst of all these billions of people, there is literally only 144,000 what we would call 5-star generals. 144,000 individuals on this planet that are the true leaders that helps usher what the Bible refers to as the great multitude of believers. It's only 144,000 leaders that usher in the great multitude. And if you don't know that you are amongst these leaders, then you're up against it. You're really just up against it. But I'm going to presume that you do know that you're being watched, you're being monitored, you're under constant surveillance, you're being studied and analyzed. This video is for some of you guys specifically because it's time for some of you guys to accept this fact. You know, as I throw in a little bit of a side note, you know, the movie, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. Let me digress for a minute. Entertainment, if you don't have the eyes to see or the ears to hear, entertainment, whether it's the music industry, whether it's sports, the signs and symbols in sports, there's all kinds of different messages being subliminally displayed through the music industry. And of course, there's all kinds of education taking place within the so-called pastime, the entertainment. It's not just entertainment; it's education within that. If your eyes have been open to see, and if they haven't, then that's no slight against you. It's just, you know, he doesn't make mistakes. He gives to whom he pleases. But entertainment is also education for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And we realize that hidden within this entertainment is all sorts of education. And I don't want to get too philosophical or too far off point, but the point that I'm making with this point is that they're always telling you something through TV, television. They're always telling you something. And there's a movie that came out. It's presented in the form of a comedy starring Jim Carrey. The name of the movie is Truman. Not an irony for those of us who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. It's called The Truman Show, starring Jim Carrey. If you haven't watched it, check it out. And check it out from an educational point of view. Have your spiritual eyes open and pray that he'll give you the discernment of what's actually being said. But in a nutshell, what's being told in that movie is the truth about how those of us who are amongst the 144,000 are under 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 surveillance, being analyzed, being studied, being prodded, all of these different things. And that's what this Truman Show is about. It's about this guy who was born. He was born into what amounts to today would be a whatever they call one of them live TV shows where they're supposed to be recording someone's life, and you know, Real Housewives of Hollywood, something like that. I'm not characterizing too great in terms of the actual name of it, but where they put these cameras around these people and they take them 24 hours a day to see how they go about their daily lives. Well, this guy Truman in the movie was born into this system unknowingly. And from the very moment that he was born, everything in his life was being filmed. He was being tested, put in these kinds of situations, et cetera, et cetera. So I won't hold you there, but that's the point that I'm making, is that you've always been under surveillance. They've always known who you were. And this message is for some of you guys out there to finally really, really get this. Probably going to definitely make a part 2 on this. And the reason why I know that this is for some of you guys out there, very specifically you, is because the way that, you know, I post my messages, you know, is most of it comes strictly from a spiritual download that Heavenly Father gives me. Now, ultimately, it all comes from that, but some are more impressionable than others. And some come from an intellectual standpoint. where I just say, oh, that'll be a good message, for people, that's interested in growth, evolution, wisdom, knowledge, encouragement, whatever. So from an intellectual point, I get certain videos. Now I have a list of videos, a list of messages that whenever the subject presents itself, whether it's downloaded directly from more of a spiritual source, or if it's something that comes a little bit from more of an intellectual source, I have a long list of to make messages, to post messages, and I go off of them in that chronological order in which they were downloaded, and I put them on the to make message list. For the last few messages, the Spirit man, the Holy Spirit, has caused me to totally postpone or give a back seat to the messages that are on the to make message list. Now, this happens sometimes. It happens often, but it doesn't happen as consistently back to back to back to back to back as it has been happening. And that lets me know that he's dealing with me, and he wants me to get this message through you. He's using me to get this message to you. Me just being the vessel, me just being the worker. But it's obvious to me, it's spiritually obvious to me that this is what he wants. And he wants you guys to take this wholeheartedly. And again, if you are amongst 144,000, or if you feel as though you're not, maybe you come across someone that's a member of the 144,000, or maybe you don't, because there's only 144,000 amongst all these billions of people. But either way, to be informed and to be aware is to be alive. If you're not informed, if you're not aware, then you can't really say that you're alive. You're just existing. Almost like someone if they're in a hospital bed in a coma or something. Yeah, they're existing, but they can't really say they're alive, even though they may be still having, some of the functions that we associate with being alive. Heartbeat, bowel movement, things of that nature. So to be aware of these things, especially given that you carry the light, then you can know what to look out for if you come across someone that you feel may be a member of the 144,000, or if you realize that, hey, you're not a member of the 144,000, but you notice these type of things taking place in your life. Because remember, the only thing that determines that's a determining factor is how much of this surveillance you're under. If you have this gift, if you carry this light, and that light being someone who's committed to growth, to evolution, and I'm talking about in a clean-hearted, more of a spiritual way, not just an intellectual way, not from a book-learned type of way. I'm talking about evolving in the spirit man or woman, cleanliness, true humbleness, true tolerance, true courage, true quest and a desire for justice and fairness for all. When you're growing and evolving in spiritual integrity and all of these things, then you carry this light. And it just depends on how much of that light that you carry. That's going to be the determining factor with how much of a surveillance these people that we call the government / the dark forces are going to put you under. So it is imperative to you that you know this as well. So getting back to why I know this is for you guys, and I'll get out of here, I'll make a chapter 2, is that, again, he's downloaded to me the need to override and postpone my to make message list. And I've made a couple of messages. One's called Created to Rock the Boat. The other one was getting into the flow state. And the other one was, don't be fearful of you. So all these things he's just given to me. And all those videos flow, all of those messages flow very well with one another. They're kind of sewed are joined at the hip in terms of the underlying theme of all of those messages. So check those out if you haven't already, and then definitely come back for chapter 2, because we're going to get into this a little bit further, but it starts from you knowing and accepting the fact that you are under 24/7, 365 surveillance. You always have been. It's a little bit different with the 144,000. 144,000 always have been. Before we even awaken to who we are and we realize that we didn't choose God, God chose us, and we realize, we realize our divine assignment. We've always been under surveillance. But for my other spiritual brothers and sisters who get to go to heaven just as much as we all do, the moment your awakening began, the moment you decided that, okay, mankind has lost its way, thugging don't work. That's some BS I was raised up into. Being a racist don't work. That's some BS I was raised up into. Once you start seeing, all of these different truths about life and about yourself, you begin to awaken. Then you kind of tickled the system, if you will, and the system became aware of you and began to survey and monitor you, trying to figure out what degree of anointing is on your life, et cetera, et cetera. And again, the only difference is the 144,000, they already knew who they were, where they were going to be born, when they were going to be born, just like they did when it came to this person that we call Christ. That's the only difference. So check out those other messages. Come back for chapter 2. I love you all. I'll give my testimony in this chapter 1, but I will not in the following chapters that are related to this message. Guys, listen, you can't tell me he's not real. And you can't tell me that we that carry this light are not divinely guided and protected. No one can tell me that. And truth be told, no one can tell you that. Not legitimately. No one can get you to believe that. You have to let them get you to believe that. They can't make you believe that, because you've seen him operate too many times in your life. You see him operate in your life right now on a day-to-day basis. It would be easy for you to go out there and surrender your soul. It would be easy for you to go out and sell out and sleep with your neighbor and cheat on your spouse because your spouse cheated on you, or backstab that person on the job to get the promotion or whatever. It would be easy for you to go out there and falsify some video messages to get, do what they call clickbait. It would be easy for you to go out there and let your spiritual integrity wane and save your reputation, save your marriage, save your relationship, save your business. It would be easy for you to do that, but you don't. You take the hard road. And you know that you take the hard road and you're able to endure and overcome only because of him. Guys, I have a 6th grade education, if you want to call it that. Did I go to the 6th grade? Yes. Was it for more than 30 days? No. Probably closer to 2 weeks. I was born into poverty. Piss poor poverty. Not the kind of poverty today where people talking about they got it out the mud. That's a joke. We didn't get it out the mud. We got it out of the sewer. That's the kind of poverty I was born into. The kind of poverty where we had to put cotton balls in our ears, or we run the risk of waking up with cockroaches in our ears. I come from that. Gangs, drug use, violence. I come from that. I started my life of crime at the age of 9, and I have committed. I actually bumped into a couple guys today, and I'll mention this in chapter 2 about how the enemy, is surveilling us. But anyway, I came across a couple guys today, and I shared my testimony with them. Hey, listen, any kind of violent crime except for a sex-related crime and except for murder, if it's a violent crime, specifically those that involve guns, knives, baseball bats, and brass knuckles, I've done them. I've done them 1,000 times over. That's not bragging. That's just honoring him and saying if I was doing that, I was in the environment where those things were being done. So I'm not here because I'm tough or brave or smart or lucky or none of that. I'm here because of him. I went to juvenile corrections for the first time at the age of 11. It was supposed to have been a 6-month evaluation. I turned it, because of me gang banging in there, I turned it into a 23-month stint. I did three separate sentences in the Juvenile Department of Corrections from the age of 11 up through the age of 16. 17, I was 16 when I committed a violent crime. They kept me in the juvenile facility. On my 17th birthday, they took me to the adult facility. I did 4 separate sentences in the Adult Department of Corrections from the age of 17 up through the age of 34. I was involved in gangs. I've experienced, again, the homelessness, the poverty. I was a so-called drug dealer. I definitely was strung out on drugs. Obese one time, almost 80 pounds overweight. Domestic violence, domestic abuse, clinical depression, anxiety. I've been there. You can't tell me he's not real. You can't tell me that we aren't divinely guided and protected, because we are. So that's my testimony, to honor him and for me to receive the victory that he promised me, just like he promised you. He said that we would get victory over the enemy through the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony. Don't hide your testimony. Don't be ashamed of your mistakes. You don't walk around with your chest poked out, but you walk around saying, hey man, if you're doing that, you might want to stop. Hey man, if you aren't doing that, make sure you don't start, because there's a price to pay. But I'm living proof, as I shared with these gentlemen today. And again, I'll mention that in the next chapter. I shared with a couple of gentlemen today. You know, he'll do it for you if your heart is in the right place. All those decades that I spent lost in that wilderness, I was raised up in the church. My parents didn't promote that. That's why I ran away at the age of 9. Because we had to be in church 5 or 6 days a week. Prayer night, Bible study, choir rehearsal, Sunday services, you name it. So he's real, guys. And so the moral to that, again, glorify him, receive my victory, inspire and motivate you, and let you know that there's nothing to fear. The only thing you should be afraid of is fear. It's a different way of putting what John F. Kennedy said. Same thing. The only thing worth being afraid of is fear. So don't fear it. Accept who you are. Get into that flow state. You're born to naturally rock the boat. And don't be afraid to do so. But that's what I got for you guys. Look forward to chapter 2. And I'm going to get out of here. But I encourage you guys, hey, listen. Experiential philosophy, certified fitness training, and clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices. That's what this ministry promotes. I've also gone on to become an all-natural professional bodybuilder by his grace, by his mercy, by his authority. I'm a certified fitness trainer. I'm also the founder of my own fitness training company, and I'm also the founder of this ministry. Yes, he will do it. He wants to do it for you. But he may want to leave you in the fire a little bit longer. He may want to leave your children, your spouse, society. He may want to leave some of them in the fire to see if they're going to keep their heart clean, even though they're making those mistakes. Or they're going to keep wanting to change. This is what I told the young men today. I don't know y'all from a man standing on the moon. But if no matter what you're doing or not in the streets, because I had asked them, do they honor God? And then I told them, hey, man, look, honor God don't mean you have to be going to church all day. And it don't mean that right now you got to stop if you're doing something in the streets or you're not behaving well in a relationship. Just keep your heart in the right place and want to change. And then when it's time for him to change you, he'll change you. But he might want to leave you there for a while just to see if your heart is going to be consumed by the darkness or are you going to continue to, in the midst of the darkness, long for the light and try and strive for the light? I don't care if it takes 5 years. I don't care if it takes 55 years, 105 years. If your heart's in the right place, he'll do it for you. He did it for me. And trust me, if he did it for me, he'll do it for anybody. So that's what I got for you guys. I really do appreciate you guys' love and support. Remember, this ministry is funded and supported by viewers just like you. So support this ministry. If you would, please give back to this ministry. Hit the subscribe, hit the share button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon if you'd like to receive notification when I upload a new message. And if you'd like to make a monetary donation to this ministry, I'm going to leave the Cash App link down in the description. If you'd like to schedule some consultations, some evaluations, some of the motivational speaking, youth and young adult mentoring and counseling services, I'm going to leave a link for the email address down there. All of these services can be provided to you right here online. So hit the email link, schedule your consultation and evaluation, begin your services today, and then look for the Cash App down there to make a monetary donation and give back to this ministry in whatever way you're able to, whatever way that he moves you to. Remember, if you don't plant any seeds, then you really don't have a legitimate expectation to receive a harvest. Just go ask any farmer you know. If he didn't plant his seeds, he's sitting back like, oh well. So plant your seeds, whatever it is, a word of encouragement, hitting the like, supporting the ministry that way, a monetary donation. Plant your seed and receive your harvest by faith. That's what I got for you guys. Also, please visit the physical fitness branch of the ministry located at mountfitnessmbs.com. That'll tell you a little bit more about my experience thus far, my expertise thus far when it comes to physical fitness, training, nutrition, and all of that stuff. I believe that's everything. I love you all. I'm going to get out of here. But first, as always, I want to encourage you guys to always be the living, walking, breathing embodiment of faith over fear, truth over tradition, love over lust, and people over profit. Do those things and your life will turn out in a way that you can look back and be proud of. That's what I got for you guys. I love you all. I'll see you in the next one. I am Brother Minister Mongoose, and I will holler back. Peace.